Hey guys, Omar here, and today I thought I'd share my event photography gear for anyone interested in knowing what I use, what gear I use to photograph my events. And the one thing I won't touch on today, I was thinking of making this a separate video, is why I don't use Fujifilm for my professional work. It's a very common question I get. Those of you that have been around a while know the answer, but I'll make a separate video on that. Really quick, let's talk cameras and lenses and get that out of the way. Because if you're shooting events, for the most part, a lot of the little things are more important. Camera and lenses are more a personal style thing, so I'll get those really quickly out of the way. And then lighting and like little trinkets and things that help me get my photographs might be more important. When I first started, I used to bring tons of gear, like a rolly suitcase and a huge duffel bag. It was like I was gonna rob a bank. And now I've been trying to just keep everything in 2 bags. I have a lighting bag that I carry, a long one. I have this that I carry on my backpack. This is a Think Tank Airport Express something or other. And then I have my main camera bag. This is the Tenba little other bag, which I'll label here. A little more elegant. It's like a nice little leathery, so when I'm dressed nice to work, I like it. So what I carry in the main bag is I have batteries, I have extra memory cards, I have business cards, I usually have my camera around my neck, and then this has 3 lenses in it. Either 2 or 3, depending on what I'm doing. So this is the bag I have on me all the time with whatever I need. And this bag is far away from me. This bag, the Think Tank is by the DJ station or under somewhere. Okay, cameras. For cameras, I'm using the Sony a7 III, great for eye autofocus, super fantastic in low light. It has dual card slots. It has all the needs of an event photographer. And the other great thing about shooting events with the Sony a7 III is the file size is really small. If you use compressed RAW with the Sony a7 III, your files are 24 megabytes, which are super tiny compared to some of the other cameras, which are getting into the 50 megabyte, 75 megabyte. So that's a huge benefit. I usually have a grip on the camera because it is small and dinky. And right now the 35 1.8 prime lens is on there. That's one of the lenses I use. And my strap system is the Optech USA strap system that I hold. I am a neck strapper. I've tried all the other straps, all like the, the leather ones and all that. I go back to old school neck strap because I like to take this off and wrap this guy as safety. If I'm gonna shoot over people, if I drop the camera, I can always have some kind of safety there. Also, if I'm doing anything on tripod work, I can take the strap off. So I love the Optech USA system for that. So that's my main camera. Believe it or not, the 35mm 1.8, I like this lens, but is my least used Sony lens. What I'm using a lot more is the 85 1.8. This is a great lens from Sony. And my 2 most used lens is the Tamron 28-75 2.8 and the Tamron 17 to, what the heck is it? 20, it's like a weird 17 to 28 millimeter. And the reason I love these lenses is I love to shoot with minimum focus distance. You could get really close with these guys, so you almost don't need a macro lens. Pretty much this 28-75 can do everything except go wide, obviously. And I like to shoot wide, especially when you're in a crowd and you're, with mitzvahs, they do the hora, you're like in the hora. I like shooting close in my events and receptions because it has a different feel than from shooting from far. It feels like you're almost at the party with people. So I love shooting wide. And so for Sony, the 17 to 28 millimeter has been great. It focuses fast, super quiet. It's small, it's light. This is fantastic. Both these Tamron lenses, and I haven't made videos on them because I'm tired of lens review videos, but I need to make videos on those because they're great lenses. Now, if I am using my Sony and I need to shoot a ceremony, I have the Sigma MC11 adapter. That is a great piece of kit if you want to start using Canon lenses. So if I'm shooting in a ceremony, I will use the 70-200 2.8. I love this lens for portraits. I love it for shooting in a temple, shooting family portraits. The 70-200 is by far my most favorite lens. Now, unlike most photographers, they have the same system. I'm like in between systems. And I'm really waiting for Canon to come out with something that is like the A7 III. My second camera is a Canon 5D Mark IV. Love this camera, beautiful sensor, great, the perfect size, megapixels in the 30s. Love the images that come from the Canon 5D Mark IV more than any other camera. On the Canon right now, I have the 35mm f2, which is on there. I love that lens as well. Okay, so that's camera and lenses. Okay, lighting gear. Lighting gear is, again, a personal choice, and I've gone from system to system to system, so this may change as well, but this is what I'm using right now. Right now, I'm using the Godox system. A lot of you know that from this channel, and the reason is because it works with all my systems, Fuji, Sony, and Canon. I could shoot all three systems using the same flashes. So the main flash I'm using 100% of the time is the Zoom lithium ion. This is from Adorama. It's called the Flashpoint. But these guys have been great for this battery. Oh, the battery's not in there. For the lithium battery, which is missing. Man, once you go lithium battery, it's hard to go back to all the AA's to charge. These guys charge fast, and you barely have to change them for an event. You could just go 1.5-ish for a full day of shooting. Backup flash is the V1. The V1 is newer and has a better menu system to control other lights, but I don't love the round head, I'm sorry. It also is more finicky. It goes into something called thermal protection mode, which is it kind of gets tired after you shoot 20 shots in a row. It gets scared that it's gonna overheat, even though the flash is totally cold, and then it stops shooting, just shoots once, and then you have to wait 5 seconds. So I found that really annoying, and the original, you know, this guy with the Fresnel head does not do that. So I've been using this guy. So this is my main on-camera flash when I'm shooting receptions. And the way I shoot for the most part is I try to bounce my flash as much as possible. So the gear I have for that is, I'll try to this is kind of what my flash looks like when it's on. So it's kind of back like this. And what I try to do is either bounce to a wall behind me, and what I use is the black foamy thing. Google black foamy thing by Neil Van Niekerk. Basically, it's a way to flag your light so that if you're shooting, if you're bouncing off a wall, the flash here doesn't go and contaminate your subject. Instead, you flag off the light and it only hits the wall behind you, and you get much better light than the sneaky light that's going forward, which is the ugly light. You're trying to bounce pretty light on a wall. So I love the black foamy thing. So for that, I have a bunch of them. It's just craft, it's just like craft paper you get at a local craft store. I bought them online, but the black foamy stuff, and then I have a bunch of rubber bands that I use to put on there. And when the ceilings are black, or I want more dramatic dance pictures, the Rogue Flash Bender is my modifier of choice. Now there's a bunch of on-camera stuff you can buy. There's domes, there's magnetic stuff. They all suck, by the way. They all have harsh light, harsher than I like. So that's why I like to shoot wide and close, because the closer you are with this thing, the prettier the light is. So I like to have this guy on and get close to my subjects as they dance and stuff and take pictures. But what's cool about the Flash Bender that it has over the other ones is you can you can sort of shape it. So if you're trying to reach a subject that's far away, I like to push the Flash Bender like this, and the light actually bounces and goes more forward. Or you can kind of pull it back and just use it, some of the diffuse light. It's really cool. You can shape it, you can flag. And so I found like a lot of domes and things are just one-trick ponies, and the Flash Bender gives you a little bit more flexibility. No pun intended there. Totally intended. Okay, so those are my like 2 on-camera lights. I will also use these with one on camera as a trigger and one in the back as a backlight. So sometimes one of these Speedlights is kind of like right kind of by the DJ, as if it was a disco light. But also I stick it in a modifier. Sometimes I stick the Speedlight in a modifier and turn this guy off if it's on camera, and I'll use this as a trigger. And so that's how you do off-camera flash without having to take this flash off and get a trigger. and put the trigger on. What's great about the Godox system is they become transmitters, the flashes, and so you can sort of play around like that. All right, next, the big boys. Big boy number one is the AD200. This has the power of 3 speedlights. So if I need more light in a modifier, I use this guy with the Fresnel. And by the way, there's again a bunch of all kinds of systems for gels, and you can get into this MagMod system, and all that stuff starts to cost you. I make my own super budget, you know, my super budget filters with a Velcro, and they fit on all my flashes. Any new flash, I don't have to buy a new head for it. See, all I have to do is buy these little Velcro strips, and that'll work with all my stuff. Okay, so that's what I use for my filters, and I have a bunch of filters in these pockets. So I have one with a Fresnel head, and the other one I have with a bare bulb, because as you know, those of you that have been on this channel, I like this Big Mama. I use a big umbrella, and this beautiful bulb fills up the umbrella all the way in there. This guy's a little harder to gel. You have to gel them with a rubber band, and you put, you know, your other, you know, so it's a little harder to gel. And by the way, these heads come off. So if I wanted to, I could take this, so easy to do. I could take this head off. See how small this guy gets? The power of 3 speedlights. And I always carry an extra Fresnel head. Where'd it go? Fresnel! Fresnel! That's a great name, huh? Fresnel Johnson. Oh, here he is. All right. If your bulb just goes out and stops working, you have a tiny little Fresnel head extra, and now you still have light. So if you, that's what I like about the AD200 is it comes with this Fresnel head and the bulb. So you already have a backup bulb with this little Fresnel head. So I like that. I always like to have a backup to the backup to the backup. This is a Rogue grid. I throw the Rogue grid sometimes on some of my flashes if I want to channel the light and grid it. I also have a little blower because the Sony a7 III sensor always gets dust on it. I have a Sony only trigger. If I want to do high-speed sync for any reason, I need this trigger. It's also a backup trigger, but it's so flimsy and plasticky, this one. This is the R2T, that I don't really use it. It also has these little Sony pins at the bottom that can bend. I hate, this is so cheap. So I like using the Canon one that has a metal mount and is a little tougher, but I always carry a backup trigger. What else? Light stands, you already know my favorite light stand. I did a video on that. That's this little Manfrotto dude. And with the El Cheapo modifier on there, I'll link that video up below. Other things, protect your hearing if you're shooting receptions. Oh my God, they're so loud. Extra battery charger, always have that with me. I have a whole set of Rogue gels. These are like different colors. I barely ever use those. I've got my color checker passport. Because Sony colors are like, I always take a quick picture of the color checker passport. I did a video on that as well, controlling your colors. I don't use Sony's colors anymore as they come into Lightroom. I use my own colors with Sony. And business cards. I have 2 types of business cards. If you're doing events, I recommend having 2 types of business cards. The first is the business card you give the clients that will hire you. And it has my phone number on there. It has my email on there. It's people you want to contact you. Okay, and so these feel really nice. You almost don't want to give them away. They're so nice. Those are by Moo Cards, not sponsored. And then you should have a little social media card. This is great for vendors, florists, DJs, the dancers, if you have pictures of them. Always take care of your vendors. And so I hand out these little social media cards. They have a little QR code that just links to my Instagram. So have a social media card with you. It's got my YouTube on there. A gazillion gels. I gel my flashes like crazy. I'm like gel obsessed. And if you notice, they're all orange because I am CTO gel obsessed. I'll either add more orange or take orange away to take pictures so I can match the room light. Every room is different. And then emergency stuff. Okay, in here I've had my Canon 600 EXRT, Canon's flash with batteries in it and extra batteries, because this has a most beautiful infrared focusing system that you can focus almost in pitch blackness. So for any emergency reason, there's no ambient light that the Sony can't pick up or is hunting, I can switch to this flash on my Canon and it works great. I won't give up on this flash because I may be going full Canon again. if they come out with a camera that can actually focus. Okay, now if that's all way too much for you, then what would I do if I was starting? So if I was starting, I would have one camera and one lens. So for me, it would be the Sony a7 III with the 28 to 75. You could pretty much do everything with this, except maybe ceremony from far away if they don't let you get close. But one camera and one lens to start. Get a camera that has dual card slots so you can shoot to 2 cards. Cards may fail, always have a backup if people are paying you. So that's number 1. 2, I would have 2 Speedlights, 1 and 2. This is what I would start with. I would have one on camera and one that I can control from far away. With this, you can either, oh, by the way, and a trigger, sorry. Because what's cool is, with the trigger, you can have 2 lights inside a huge softbox. So you can have big, beautiful light. Second setup, you can have a trigger and have a main light in kind of like the newer, you know, thingy I showed you in the other video. Start with 2 Speedlights and a trigger. Now, if the party's going on, you could have this one on your camera and it can control the backlight. And so now you have main light and a hair light to shoot candle lighting and kiss and first dance. And so that's the minimum gear that I would have. These guys, okay? So if you're starting out, don't feel like you need all the stuff. You could just use this stuff. And of course a bag, and because you're gonna look weird like this. All right, I'll see you guys next time.